Welcome to Connecting the Community podcast. I am your host, Marge Andre. I will be connecting you to people, organizations, and events that create community. I am creating this podcast in Richmond Hill, an eclectic and very culturally diverse community with lots of trees and streams and interesting people, just up the hill from Toronto. On this podcast, I will be talking with Paul Rose about the Richmond Hill chapter of PROBUS. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, Marge. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Oh, you are very welcome. I am really looking forward to this conversation. So, Paul, I've known you for a long time, but I want you to introduce yourself to our podcast audience and tell us what your role with PROBUS is.
Sure, Marge. I'm a retired high school teacher who taught at Bayview Secondary School in Richmond Hill. I've lived in Richmond Hill for 26 years. Currently, I'm the president of the Richmond Hill chapter of PROBUS. Previously, I was the vice president and the newsletter editor.
Okay, I did not realize you were the president, so congratulations on that. Okay, so now let's tell everyone, what is PROBUS?
That's the $64,000 question because it's not a great name, but PROBUS is a great organization. It's a volunteer-based social organization for retirees. It's nonprofit, non-political, and non-sectarian. And it promotes friends, fellowship, and fun through organizing activities for its members. We provide opportunities for physical, intellectual, and social engagement. So that's really what PROBUS is.
Whoa, that's some lofty objectives there. And it is an international organization, correct?
That's right. The first club was actually formed in 1966 and was sort of a spin-off from the Rotary Club in Caterham, England. And today there are over 4,000 chapters worldwide. The first Canadian chapter was established in Cambridge, Ontario back in 1987. There are approximately 250 Canadian chapters today with over 35,000 members. And believe it or not, the hot spot in Ontario is the Collingwood area, which has over 10 chapters.
Whoa, okay. I would thought you might have said Richmond Hill was the hot chapter, because I hear it's doing quite well. But tell us about the Richmond Hill chapter.
Well, we started back in 2019, March of 2019, actually. Riley Moynes was a fellow who was pretty instrumental. He had one stab at it that didn't come to fruition, but that didn't deter him. He tried again. And with the help of a number of committed people, Ruth Bennett, our first president, and others, we were able to get things off the ground. So we had a sponsoring chapter from Bradford, Ontario. And so we've really only been around, I guess, for 6 years. And shortly after we established, we were hit with COVID. So it was a challenge to keep things going, but we got through it. And right now we definitely have quite an interest in the group because we have a significant waiting list.
Yeah, I've heard about that. So that's why I really wanted to talk to you about PROBUS. But can you tell us, like, the structure? You said that you are the president, we're vice president, secretary. Like, what is the structure? Is there a membership, annual fee? How does that work?
So there is a fee and there is a membership. It's everyone is a volunteer in the group. So our executive is made up of volunteers, and we have about an 11-person executive. I've actually been on the executive since day one in different roles. But we have a wonderful volunteer spirit in the group. The annual fee is $50. Basically the executive abides by bylaws that we've created. And there are certain guidelines that PROBUS Canada, lays out for us, but very minor really. That membership of $50 entitles you to attend monthly meetings, join interest groups, start your own interest group, and sign up for a wide range of social activities too.
Okay, I know a lot goes on. So you have a general monthly meeting and lots of, like, I think I saw you once riding around with, oh yeah, I'm with my PROBUS bike group. So what is the sort of structure and, like, what happens at PROBUS meetings?
Okay, well, mystery no more. I'll unveil it for you. We do meet monthly, and we happen to meet at the Richmond Hill Presbyterian Church. And at a typical meeting, we would have a guest speaker. We'd have updates on interest groups and social activities. We might have a tech tip and a video that's usually connected to the speaker that month. There'll be an opportunity for people to socialize. There will also be an opportunity for people to sign up for various groups. We usually have a 50-50 draw. But that's only the one monthly event. Because we have 41 interest groups, there are hundreds of activities that go on every month. These interest groups, the number keeps growing. Some are games like bridge, euchre, or billiards. Others are crafts, culture, and chats such as photography or book clubs, knitting. Still others are physical activities like hiking and cycling and pickleball. Others focus on learning, such as we have an investment club, a conversational French club, and others are food and drink based, wine tasting and ethnic dining, for example. So these interest groups would meet at various places in forests for hikes, church basements, members' homes, restaurants, to name a few. So there's a lot going on with PROBUS. It's not just the monthly meeting. In fact, some people don't come to the monthly meeting. If all 249 members did come, we wouldn't have room for them in the church. So that's
Okay.
maybe a good thing.
Okay. Now, what do you do? I'm just curious. Like, what's your involvement? Other than cycling.
Okay, so the interest groups I cycle and we transfer to hiking when the weather gets a little cool. But I'm also involved in pickleball. I'm in the investment club. I just started a writers workshop, we had our first meeting yesterday, believe it or not. And so I'm fairly involved. And the executive is a commitment too. I mean, we meet once a month and we plan the monthly meetings. We'll make decisions about, bigger social activities, if there's going to be subsidies. And we're always looking at reviewing protocols and it's fun. It's a great group of people on the executive. So even though it's technically work, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you for that. You've mentioned socialization, and I think that's a key part of what you do. Can you articulate, like, why is socialization so important, and particularly for older adults? I won't call us seniors.
Okay. Well, I don't think there's any doubt that socialization is a factor in wellness and longevity. And we've got more and more research showing that being a part of a community is key to wellness. Now, when people retire and they're no longer having that regular social contact associated with their working life, it's quite an adjustment for some people, and there's a lot of loneliness at times. So I think it's important to connect with other people. PROBUS really helps facilitate that for our members. I've been involved with the chapter, as I say, from 2019. And over that time, so many members have come up to me and expressed their gratitude for how PROBUS has really transformed their life. So it's quite gratifying, obviously. At a recent Winterfest celebration we had, I looked around the room and realized there were 150 people, many of whom I count as friends that I might never have known without PROBUS. So I think that the socialization is key on so many levels. Just exercising your mind, engaging in conversation about whether it's about politics or literature, movies, music, getting your body moving. We do have a lot of physical clubs, but also, engaging in the life of the community. I think it works on so many levels, and it's so important that people don't just, sort of have their social circle shrink when they get older. And PROBUS is a great way to expand it, actually.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. I think you said that well, because I agree with socialization, being part of the community, having something to do when you get up in the morning. We really, really need that. So now, is PROBUS associated with any other groups or organizations? You mentioned how it was a spinoff way back when of Rotary Club. I know you guys were out and about in the community, but are there any ties with any groups or organizations?
Well, really, the only official tie we have is with PROBUS Canada. You know, we I go to regional meetings that they have, you know, not frequently, but maybe once every 2 or 3 months. And they have well, they have quite a few resources actually for us that are helpful, but we don't have any official, you know, association with any other clubs. Although unofficially, you know, we like to cooperate with the Richmond Hill Food Bank, and I think we have a really good connection with them, and our members really like to support them, and some other organizations in the community, but they're unofficial. There are no official ties to anyone other than Probus Canada. And actually, $3 of the $50 annual fee goes to Probus Canada. They provide us with liability insurance and as I say, sort of a host of other resources.
Okay. Because I have heard, I've seen on Facebook that you've done a lot with the food banks. So I was wondering, thank you for saying that, because one, I'm glad that you are helping them out. I think they could definitely need that. But yeah, it's there's a lot of need in the community, and I think you guys do help out whenever you can. Now, you and I had back a while ago, been part of Council Accountability Group, and we certainly talked politics. And I believe Probus is apolitical, but you mentioned how you get together and sometimes it's hard not to talk about politics. Is there a specific statement from the local chapter or Probus Canada about talking politics? And then I'm also going to ask you, yeah, I think that every member of Probus probably gets out to vote. Would you agree?
Well, Probus is apolitical. That is definitely a part of our, you know, our charter, I suppose. But that doesn't mean that, you know, on hikes, at wine tastings, book clubs, that members avoid political discussions. It's just that it's individuals expressing their political beliefs and engaging in political conversation. But Probus doesn't have a stand. Having said that, though, I'd like to think that our speaker selection is pretty progressive in choosing people with a concern for the environment, for justice, for community awareness. So, you know, those are sort of subtle ways we can try to achieve, you know, not a particular party political end, but a kind of strengthening of civic engagement, if you will, political end. And you were talking about voting. I'd like to think that the average Probus member is engaged and votes. I can't I can't speak for every one of them, of the 249, but you know, certainly in many of the conversations I've had on the hiking trails, people are interested in what's going on in the community, interested in council decisions and development and things of that nature. And I thought I'd just add, Marge, that in terms of, although we don't have any official association with organizations, we do regularly donate our 50/50 proceeds, part of our 50/50 proceeds, to groups like the Food Bank, Out of the Cold, Fill a Purse for a Sister. These are some of the organizations. And we also have times where certain meetings where we'll collect either goods or funds for certain organizations. So even though it's not part of our charter, let's say that, you know, we're not a service club, we are more a social club. I find that our members are so interested in helping the community that that's become sort of a regular activity that we do.
I like to hear that. So thank you for that. I think it's very good that there is a nudge. You've given people the opportunity to give back. And I think in doing so, they themselves feel better. So I see it as a win-win-win situation. So yeah, that's great to hear. So I know there are many couples that are involved with Probus, including you and your wife. I also know some single people. So is there a mix of men, women? What's your age ranges? Have you done any stats on that?
Well, my wife Jen is actually the membership chair, so she would maybe have more of a precise calculation of this, but there are certainly many couples and many single members. I would suggest that maybe there are more women than men, maybe 60% women, just sort of ballparking it. And in terms of age ranges, while most of our members might fall in the 65 to 75 range, we have a lot of members who are in their late 50s or early 60s, and we have members who are in their 80s. So Jen likes to say we have junior seniors and senior seniors. That's the terminology she uses. So there's quite a range.
Okay. I'd rather she not use the word seniors, but that's okay. So,
Okay. I'll tell her that.
okay, you tell her that. Okay. What about diversity? Richmond Hill is very cultural diverse. How about PROBUS?
Well, keep in mind that there's no residency requirement to be a
Okay.
Richmond Hill chapter member. So we actually do have quite a few members from Markham, from Maple, from Thornhill, North York, even as far as Toronto. I mean, I would say though that we definitely do not match the diversity of Richmond Hill, which, as you know, is incredibly multicultural community. And I don't know why that is exactly. I don't know if maybe certain cultural groups would rather belong to something that is political or sectarian or does have a more than just sort of a social focus. It is sort of an organization where word of mouth spreads, and I certainly hope that we will grow in diversity to reflect not only Richmond Hill, but I guess growing multiculturalism in the 905. And what I do find encouraging is that there's a lot of interest among our members to learn about different cultures, I think. I know that, for example, one of our members who's Persian often likes to take people to Persian restaurants and really give them sort of a lesson on the food and the history, and it's very popular. It always it gets full. There's a waiting list for things like that. So I'm encouraged that we're open to learning and actively learning about different cultures, and I hope that our diversity will grow in time.
Yeah. Okay, that's very well said. So, you've said there's a waiting list, so you cannot be accepting new members. Are you like there are 250? Is that sort of the maximum number? Are you considering having another group, another club, like Richmond Hill Point Two, and what about Vaughan, or neighboring municipalities, Vaughan, Aurora, Markham? Do they have PROBUS clubs?
So these are good questions. We're capped at 249, but we do run a waiting list, and we have a significant number on our waiting list. And Aurora does have a chapter. At the moment, Markham and Vaughan do not, to the best of my knowledge. In terms of creating a new chapter, it's sort of the same ethos that we use with our interest groups, which is anybody can do it. It's a volunteer organization. So if there are a group of people on that waiting list who are tired of waiting and want to take the initiative, all you need to do is get a PROBUS chapter, an existing PROBUS chapter, to sponsor you. And that's exactly the process that we undertook back in March 2019. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we had some determination and an openness to learn. The sponsoring chapter really helped us out and told us sort of some key things that we had to put in place. And so I'm hoping that that we'll have another chapter if we have the people. You obviously need the people with the volunteer spirit, because volunteerism is really at the heart of everything. The reason I think we have such a vital chapter is because so many people are willing to volunteer to facilitate interest groups, to help big social events happen. There's a lot of work involved, but when you're doing it with friends, and I think when the attitude is right, it's fun. So I'm hoping that there will be a second group, whether it's in Richmond Hill or Markham or Vaughan. I hope there will be a second group nearby so people don't have to wait as long.
Yeah. Okay. Um, What do you see the future of PROBUS to be? I guess I'm asking that both as Richmond Hill and generally the whole concept of PROBUS.
Well, certainly I hope that our chapter continues to attract vital new members who are interested in being active and who are have the willingness to volunteer. I think we have an amazing group of people. I hope we can continue to foster community. I hope that people feel that we're continuing to give them opportunities to engage their minds, their bodies, their spirit, to make them vital and feel vital and connected. So I know connection is a big word for you, Marge, and
Yep.
I think it is for us too. So now I know that in the life sort of span of a PROBUS chapter, some chapters, they age and they don't replace sort of the older members with younger ones, and then they have a bit of a hard time. So, you need renewal, and I certainly hope that we're thriving and we're as vital in 10, 15 years as we are now.
Okay, very good. I hope so too, because I think it is important to our community, and 250 people being involved doesn't seem like enough. So that's my opinion. Okay. Anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, on that note, whether you're able to join a PROBUS group or not, I would really encourage retirees to actively seek out community, to a group of people that they can talk with, that they can exercise with, that they can engage in a game or a hobby that they enjoy. And it certainly doesn't have to be in PROBUS, right? PROBUS is just one model of it, but certainly that's I guess that's my final thought
Okay, yeah.
and my wish
And
for retirees.
yeah, I know Richmond Hill has a lot of different really good organizations. If it's again the Rotary Club photography, lots of pickleball. Even though I'm not a pickleball fan, I recognize the value for socialization. But there are lots of good things to do in town. So, and you are certainly one of the shining lights. PROBUS in Richmond Hill is, so that's great. Okay. I do end my podcast with each guest's response to the same question. So I'll ask this question to you, Paul. Name one thing you really like about this community.
I love the multiculturalism of the community, the mixture of people who have been here all their lives and the people who have just arrived. I think that combination makes it interesting and vital and fun.
Okay, that's well put. I like the idea of a diversity within a diversity. So that's excellent. I will put the Richmond Hill PROBUS website in the podcast notes, and also the website for PROBUS Canada. I think that's worthwhile to look at as well. So thank you, Paula, for taking the time to do this podcast.
Thank you, Marge, for having me on.
Thank you for listening. I would very much appreciate you sharing this podcast. Please tune in next week as we continue to explore the community. Consider emailing me at Marge, M-A-R-J, at margeandre.com. I welcome suggestions for podcast guests. Stay well, stay connected.